You guys still there? Yeah, I can.
Yep.
Hold on, wait. All right, can you hear me now? There you go. I see my mics. You guys just aren't going to hear me in Discord, I don't think. So, all right, guys. Welcome to the next edition. Hold on. Wait till Kara. Let me know if you hear me. Probably. Hold on. Okay, you guys can hear me. All right, cool. Give me a second. Let me fix one more mic, and we'll be ready to roll. Yeah, that's why I purposely did that. I thought it was messing with my mic. All right, can you guys hear me now on Discord? Okay. And can you hear me now on OBS? It looks like my mic's working. All right. Finally, guys. All right. Thanks for joining us today. This is the second YouTube event that we're doing, and we're probably 6 in on this virtual tap house. We're at Lil Beaver Brewing in Bloomington, Illinois, and we're going to have as our guest Brandon, who's a sales manager here, and Chad Beavers, the owner, is going to be on via voice call. All right. If you guys are just joining us for the first time, just a little bit about myself. I've worked for Hy-Vee for about 5.5 years now. I'm an assistant manager in Sycamore, Illinois, in the wine and spirits department, and I've been in the industry whether it be restaurant, bar, or retail for my entire life. And I'm doing stuff about craft beer because COVID-19 is preventing us from having live tastings, so we modified it and went to these virtual tastings. So let me have Brandon um, tell you a little bit about himself. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, so my name's Brandon. I've been with Lil Beaver for going on probably 2 years now. I handle the business side of the operation as well as the sales side, so kind of get to see all aspects. Really, just really great company to be a part of, and love to make some good beer. And yeah,
All right, then we'll go with Chad Beavers, who is the evil genius behind everything. He is actually en route to an event that he couldn't make it today over here at the brewery live, but he is in his car and he'll tell you about himself as soon as he unmutes himself.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is Chad. My last name is Beavers, hence the Little Beaver Brewery. I started home brewing a little over 20 years ago, and a few years ago, I was a finalist for the Sam Adams Long Shot competition, as well as a silver medalist for the largest homebrew competition in the world. And it was about that time that my wife said, you know what? Maybe you should actually start a brewery because it appears that people like your beer. So here we are, 3 years after we were licensed to brew. And apparently you are all in possession of some of our latest creations and probably enjoying them this afternoon.
All right, guys, we're going to get started in a second. I just wanted to acknowledge we have three other Hy-Vees in on this and their customers. This is we have the Hy-Vee in Peoria, Peoria 2 actually. We have the Hy-Vee in Macomb, and we have the Hy-Vee in where is it? Springfield. And I'd like to thank them for going out on a limb with this event with me and letting your customers get in on the goodness of Little Beaver Brewing. And thank you to your customers for showing up today. So we'll start on with Wainbow Sherbert is the first one we're going to do today. All right, and we'll start with Chad giving us a description of what it's all about, and then we'll move on with Brandon and get a little insight, and we'll go from there. And here is it, Wainbow Sherbert. All right, so this beer is actually turned out to be one of my favorite beers from them. A little story real quick. How I met these guys, I met them at Tastes Like or Smells Like a Beer Fest out of Elko Village at Microphone Brewing a couple years ago. And when I tasted it, their beer, I tasted, something that I really haven't tasted in beer before. I've never tasted anything like it. It was what was it? It was called Lord of the Peach Rings, and that soon turned in my favorite for a while until this beer came out. This beer is awesome. But Lord of the Peach Rings, I have never tasted anything like it before, especially off a tap. And so I went back to Hy-Vee. I'm like, and I got to get that beer on my shelves. So I started calling the brewery and started bugging Chad. And he said, yeah, call me back this week. And I called him back that week, and we started playing phone tag. And it literally took me 4 months to get these beers out on a shelf. So, but I'm glad they're there because they're phenomenal beers and great sellers. So, Chad, why don't you tell us a little bit about this Wainbow Sherbert?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sticking in and hanging with us despite my not being able to get you beer immediately. We've come a long way in the last 2 years. We were actually licensed to brew almost exactly 3 years ago. So you caught us when we were just about 1 year into brewing. We actually did our first canning run just about that time. So it was late 2 years ago. Anyways, kind of mumbling. Wainbow Sherbert is part of our Wainbow series. So the Wainbow name comes from my daughters who happen to be in the back seat of the vehicle my wife is driving right now. And they actually name a lot of our beers. So my youngest used to always talk about Wainbows all the time. So that is basically our house pale ale, hazy New England style pale ale. good and flavorful, but still easy drinking. We've since kind of spun off and done a bunch of the milkshake styles of that. Now, there's a few different ways that breweries can go with milkshake fruited style beers. One of them is to ferment out the fruit sugars, and one of them is to not ferment out the fruit sugars. The way we actually do them is we choose to ferment out most of those fermentable sugars in the fruit, so that we don't end up with can bombs. A lot of people have always heard stories and stuff. So the way we go about this particular process is we brew the beer like normal. We then blend in the fruit, and then we get on with our dry hopping and things. So this particular one, and I just want to give you a little background there. Wainbow Sherbert was designed by our assistant brewer, Cody. So Cody's been with us about a year now, has a bit of a home brewer background, and probably 6 months ago, he said, I wondered about a Sherbert beer. He of course said Sherbet. I've always pronounced it Sherbert my whole life, and so that's the way we went with the spelling. But we really decided that rather than go with just a kind of a single base Sherbert style beer, that we would want to kind of blend all the common flavors there. So you've got the orange, the lime, and the raspberry that all blend together. So this particular version, we went a little bit lighter on the ABV than some of ours have ended out. And again, a lot of that is from fermenting out those fruit sugars. So it does raise up our ABV a little bit on these. But I really feel that we kind of nailed this one, so I'm glad to hear how much you enjoyed it. I think this is our second batch, and Brandon could attest to how quickly these types of beers seem to sell out now whenever we brew them. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions or dive in a little deeper if there's any
Awesome.
interest in that.
Awesome. So I like this beer because it's fruit forward, and the sweet / tartness of it doesn't hide the hop profile, which is very attractive to me. Brandon, tell us about how much do you guys get out of a brew production? Like what are you brewing at for like a run of this stuff? How many cases do you usually run out?
So it depends on what batch size we do. Right now, and Chad can attest to this a little bit more, but we do 2 batch sizes. We do 10 barrel batches and 30 barrel batches. Obviously, the 30 barrel you get way more out of. I'd say about 280 cases or so. I think the smaller batches, obviously we're kegging out some, but the smaller batches we're getting anywhere from the 70, 80-ish range or so. Again, kegging out some, but you get a decent amount. The first time we did this one, it was, like Chad said, kind of just a trial one. Cody had the idea. They brewed it up. We released it. I think we started talking about it maybe a week before, and we released it on a Friday, and by midday the next Saturday, it was all sold out. So obviously led them to brew a much larger batch, which is the one we have now. We were able to actually distribute it. We weren't able to distribute it the first time, just due to not having it. So this batch, really good. I like this one a lot. Yeah.
How much of percentage wise, how much of a batch, like say this batch, do you guys sell out of the brewery, and then what do you do, distro or something like that?
We do a good amount. It kind of varies from beer to beer. It kind of just depends. This one, a lot of it goes out of distro. A lot of it also went out of the brewery. This is one we have a bunch of kegs on, or kegs of, as it does very well in draft. People come here, they want something they may not exactly like the taste of your original beer. They want something a little bit fruitier. So it does really well in our tap room for that reason.
Let's talk about the Taphouse right now. As you guys notice, there's like construction all around us. They're actually remodeling, and the place, the outside looks gorgeous, guys. What's going on with that? When's the ETA of that being done?
So we've been working on this for quite a while now. It's a pretty big project. Justin, who's also with us here, he's kind of been manning this whole thing. It's a big undertaking. Basically, we were in a one-part building, ended up buying the entire building, and then kind of creating an all entirely new tap room. So these guys have been working crazy hard, crazy fast with everything going on. Winter coming to get this new place opened up by winter. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a little bit more info as far as the opening and everything like that. But it'll be all new. lots of beer taps. Very, very nice place. We're looking forward to it, to say the least. Chad can
Awesome.
probably tune in a little bit more.
What do you have to say about that, Chad? What's the your vision?
I'll tell you, one of the most exciting things about the whole project is I've just been able to keep focusing on beer because my business partner Justin has been able to do all the work. So him and his brother are my business partners. They got involved with me just about 2 years ago. They also manage a large landscaping company in Bloomington-Normal called Bellis. So Justin has a lot of project management experience that he totally parlayed into this whole project. So as Brandon mentioned a little while back, the building was purchased as well as the lot behind it. We actually opened up, I think it was July, whenever Illinois went back to allow outdoor only seating as opposed to no on-site consumption rules. We were able to release or open up our new large patio, which they did all the work on. So under the cloak of COVID, if you will, we worked on a whole new parking lot and a whole new outdoor experience. And a lot of people thought that was just because of COVID that we were putting, all this money and all this development into it. Well, that actually had nothing to do with it. We would have been working on it last fall had we been able to get through the exciting zoning and codes and all that kind of stuff that you have to go through permitting process to build anything in anywhere nowadays. So, but yeah, that was kind of the first leg. The second leg is almost complete, and that's a much larger, more upscale type seating environment, which we're really excited for everybody to see. And then kind of the third phase from that will be an actual restaurant. So the kitchen's under construction, but all these changes are ultimately going to allow us to make more beer. So we're going to have a much larger space available for our brewery. We're going to move our canning line, and we've got enough space that's already been plumbed in to our cooling tanks. So we can add almost another 50% to our capacity for the brewery.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
Thanks.
3 years ago, did you ever dream you'd be where you're at?
No, I mean, you always hope when you go down a venture like that you're going to do well. But when I was starting the brewery, I was the executive director for a large nonprofit food bank in Normal, Illinois here. And I thought I'd be there for 4 or 5 years before the brewery ever got to where, I could really focus on it. I just didn't think financially, it would ever go like as quickly as it did, I guess. And then this actually end of this month will be 2 years already that I quit my job just to brew beer. So I never thought in my life I'd be able to say something like that, but here we are, thanks to all of you.
All right, so I got a question here that's for you guys. What specifically makes it a milkshake IPA? The lactose, or what do you?
Yeah, to me, it's a combination, a little bit of a thicker mouthfeel as well as the lactose. Trying, to make sure people know that that's in there. I don't think that there's any definitive terms on a lot of beer, beer defining things. But to me, that's what it is. To some people, it does need to be, it needs to look and pour almost like a milkshake. But I guess that comes down to the individual, whether that's the consumer and what they want to see in it, or in the brewer and what they want to manufacture. So
Awesome. Before we move on, I want to make a few quick announcements. You guys, if you're watching this, you can type any questions you have in the chat, and we'll answer them as soon as we get them. Also, if you guys like the content and what's going on here and want to see this stuff in the future, do me a favor, subscribe to the page and turn your alerts on. I'll be going live, doing random stuff like that for beer tastings and stuff. And then we're going to move on to the next one, which is Legendary Lemon. All right, so let's get that up. So Legendary Lemon. All right, first of all, before we start, I'm holding up the can. This is it. Who does your can art?
Our artist is Patty Young, so she's a local designer. She actually has worked for a very long time in the textile industry, so designing like fabric patterns and things like that. And she became a big fan of our beer right after we opened. And I remember talking to her, been a little over a couple of years about she heard that I wanted to find a new designer, and she decided that she would do a graphic just for me, just so I could see what she could do. So she's local. She actually lives just about a mile away from the brewery, and she does outstanding work. So we're really happy to be working with her.
Yeah, shout out to her. She really made your brand, I think.
Thanks.
The Tiger Rings one was hilarious. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Um,
Yeah, that
and
was a fun one.
Lord of the Peach Rings one is awesome too. So yeah, total shout out to her. Okay, guys, what do we see here? What are we tasting?
So we have a Portillo's, which a lot of you or all of you are probably familiar with, newer to our town. And several months ago, the manager of our local store was in the brewery and got to talking with one of my partners, Adam Bellis. And I don't know how it kind of happened from there, but I know Justin kept in touch with them, and they were at the end of the season for their lemon beer, and this guy just wanted to work with us somehow to do a beer, and Justin kept saying, we really got to do a lemon cake beer. So we finally said, all right, let's do it. And so we were able to get lemon cakes right before they were out of season with them as well.
All right, so would you consider this a summertime beer, or this would be like a one-off, a special release? I mean, what are you guys' plans in the future with this?
More than likely a one-off. I mean, I'm not saying that we would never do it again, but when we do a lot of stuff like that, it's just let's give it a whirl. Let's see how it goes. I mean, again, maybe we'll bring it back when they bring back their lemon cake next year. I know it's like a summer seasonal thing, so maybe we'll do the same with that beer. We're really undecided, but it has gone over extremely well, and I think Brandon can probably tell you a little about that based on the phone calls he got and when he started getting them.
Yeah, Brandon, tell us about the story about this. How are sales on this particular beer, and are people jumping over their dead mother to get a piece of it?
Yeah, so this was a really fun one to sell, actually. A lot of them are fun to sell, but especially this one kind of having the cool Portillo's backstory. It's kind of a better price point one, too, because a lot of the ones we saw, as you guys probably know, the ingredients that go in them are extremely expensive, so it kind of makes the beer a little bit more expensive. This one was a little lighter, so it kind of gave somebody that maybe didn't want to go spend as much on a 4-pack the option. It's also, I mean, the can art kind of does it. It's a cool story beer. It's not just I'm gonna go have a beer. It's got a cool story to it. It sold really well out of our tap room. We released it at the same time as we released our pumpkin pie, which is another one that we're going to be tasting here soon. But we actually served our pumpkin pie with whipped cream on it, so it kind of gave the same thing. You could serve this with whipped cream on it too. Kind of gave it the whole cake experience, I guess. So it was a really fun one in the tap room too.
What kind of lemons do you guys use for this? Or just use a lemon juice extract, or?
Yeah, we use a concentrated lemon juice for this one. So I believe it was Meyer lemon.
Yeah, this is a karate chop to the taste buds on me, but it's awesome. It's awesome.
I gotta admit, I was a little nervous because usually we actually, this is just a side note if I could. We every Wednesday we have a little thing in house that we call One-Off Wednesday. So we tap a new beer. That we usually just have 5 gallons of it. We tap it, and when it's gone, and that's our One-Off Wednesdays. So typically, when I want to try a new flavor, that's what I'll do. It's like, okay, let's try something for One-Off Wednesday, and let's see what everybody thinks. How does it go over? This one, I just took a gamble, and sometimes I'll gamble, and we'll do a 10-barrel batch of something. This is the first time I just said, let's do it, and we went straight to 30 barrels. So it's not a small investment by any means to try a batch that size on an unknown beer. So I was just relieved, not to mention thrilled that it came out as well as it did. And the first smell I took of it when we were ready to can it, it smelled exactly like their lemon cake to me. So I was very, very interested.
Yeah, you guys probably remember seeing the video too on our social media about there were actually real lemon cakes that went into this.
Yeah, I saw you tossing the lemon cakes in there. That's hilarious.
That was a fun one to do.
Yeah, it smelled so good too. It was awesome.
So how do you decide what base beer is best for your favorite flavor profile? So before you go to that one, let me commend you on it. You got when you lock in your flavors, man, you're dead on. Like a case example is when you did that those space crystals, but with cherry in it.
Yeah.
Any beer
Hmm.
that I always taste is tastes like cherry cough syrup. Tastes medicinal to me,
Uh,
and I don't know
yep.
how you get around that medicinal taste, but I've yet to taste a beer that has a medicinal taste from you guys. And it's I don't know, it's my I don't know if it's my palate or whatnot, but the reason why I held off buying that 4 pack right away is because I was figuring out it's going to taste medicinal. But
Sure.
someone tagged it and checked it in on Untapped, and all they put on it on their tag and it says this does not taste medicinal. So that's why I dove in and grabbed it. So
That's great. Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. One of the ways I always describe my like the way I go at beers that we make is if it says it on the label, you're going to know it's there, and I truly believe that. And I know it's up to brewers and it's up to consumers how they want to perceive the whole fruit beer thing. I don't personally consume them, so I'll taste them. I can know if they're good, but it's not something that I'm going to choose to go and drink. But it's something that a lot of people really enjoy. But I've always felt rather than trying a beer that says it's a cherry vanilla, that it'll have a hint of cherry and a hint of vanilla. I want it to be smack you in the face. This is cherry vanilla. I don't necessarily care about and this is to your question on choosing the base beer. I don't always want the base beer to shine through. I don't personally brew to style. There's a lot of brewers and breweries that they choose, and again, there's 8,000 breweries in the U.S. You choose what you want to do. There's a lot of them that believe, well, if I'm going to do a lager, I want it to taste like a lager. That's a bad example, but I don't believe that. I believe if I want something to come out and taste like a big, bold flavor, we're going to put the right stuff in there and enough of it that it'll taste like that big, bold flavor that you expect when you see the name. And I know we're not alone in what we do. There's a lot of other breweries that kind of have the same beliefs, but it's awesome to see that the consumers also enjoy what we like to do.
awesome, awesome. Yeah. What was it? Both. This question goes to both you guys. What do you guys drink? What do you? What's I mean? What's your style? What's your favorite non Little Beaver brewery?
Me personally, I'm really big into hazy IPAs, and I've actually had this conversation with multiple customers in house. I call it the mom spaghetti incident. So it's not that I don't enjoy other breweries' beers, but if everybody thinks back to like when you grew up, maybe it wasn't spaghetti, but your mom had some dish that she made that you just thought was fantastic, and then once you venture out in the world and you're on your own and you start trying other people's recipes and your own, you may start to develop some different tastes, and then you go back to mom's house and you try her spaghetti and you say, "What did you change? This isn't the same thing. It's not what you remember loving." And I personally believe that beers along that way. So I happen to be able to make the exact beers that I want. So everything that you taste from us is my visualization of what I believe that beer should be. So if it's a Citra IPA like our Space Crystals or something, that's what I'm going for. So to me, that's the perfect beer. So it's not, and I'm not saying Space Crystals is the perfect beer. I'm just saying in general, I love a lot of other breweries, but it sometimes throws me off. If I see, oh, it's a Citra IPA, I'm going to grab that because I know I love Citra IPA, and then it doesn't taste like mine. Sometimes I'm disappointed because that's not, it's kind of a weird thing, but I just call it the mom spaghetti incident when I describe it. So, but that being said, I love a good hazy IPA, a good hazy pale ale. That's usually what I will turn to when I'm out and about.
Awesome, awesome. How about you, Brandon?
One of my favorite breweries and a lot of their beers, especially the one in particular, but it's Microphone. Before working here, I really didn't know much about craft beer. I didn't partake much in it. I've learned a lot, and a lot of the stuff Microphone puts out is pretty killer stuff. Um, they do a really good job. I know Chad and Mike are pretty good friends, it seems like. They just make some really cool beers. One of my favorites was the Crush Crush. It kind of reminds me of our orange vanilla. It's just kind of cool to try different styles from different breweries. But micro's my favorite. That's one good thing about being up in the city for us is being able to pick up some of those cool stuff. We're not able to see stuff like that down here, so it's cool to get up there and be able to pick up some of that.
Awesome. So, um, Chad, how has COVID affected your business?
I'd say we went from doing, on average, like 60% of the beers that we produce in cans to probably more like 90%. So that aside, it really, I hate to say it, but it hasn't made a ginormous impact on us. We've kind of kept our nose to the grindstone and just kept on going. Um, and so, I mean, we've been really fortunate. We've put out a lot of wild beers. I'd say if there's any big thing that has affected me from COVID, it's the disconnect that I feel like I've had with some of our customers because, we're used to having a bustling tap room that when I'd get done, with my work for the day, I could wander over and always see friendly faces and stop and have a chat and all that stuff. And even though we still have some outdoor seating and things right now, a lot of that's changed, and I really miss a lot of those conversations that I'd have and just the direct feedback and just getting to know everybody. So I'm looking forward to having a larger indoor space here very soon, so we can at least have some of those types of things back.
How about you, Brandon? How do you think the COVID has affected sales on you? What do you see?
I mean, obviously things have kind of gone a lot more as far as cans. When things were closed, things are kind of starting to open up back now, or open up again now. So indoor tap rooms are kind of picking back up. Um, we have a great customer base. We're very fortunate for that. So to be honest, I mean, we've just been trying to pump out as much beer as we can. We've had a couple times where we've had maybe like 30 cases left in the cooler. So we're very very fortunate that we have the customers that we do, and they've been continuing to pick up the beers. We're very fortunate to have the stores that we work with all over the state. Really, I mean, without that, I mean, we've been fortunate to have our patio here as well. So all around, I mean, it hasn't affected it a lot. Um, we were always kind of very health conscious here before. We like a clean place. Obviously, it's a production facility, so everything's got to be always clean all the time. So our bartenders here in the tap room, they've been excellent about keeping the place clean, everything like that. So I mean, it's kind of changed the way we've had to do things. Obviously, there'd be times where you get back here 3 or 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, and it was there wasn't anything but standing room in the tap room. Obviously, that's not doable now with COVID. So it'd be cool to see that at some point again, especially once we open up the new site here. But it's changed it, but I wouldn't say necessarily in a bad way. So just kind of a new learning curve.
I hear that. So, like, just so you guys know, they just closed down DeKalb County for restaurants and stuff like that again. So we took a step back on that one, unfortunately. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Uh, but
Yep.
on my end, as a retailer, I've seen an uptick in sales because people are staying home. And what my fear is that when everything's said and done and we kind of go back to a semi-normal life, that the restaurant industry, bar industry is going to take that hit because the most common comment I hear from my customers is, um, "You can't imagine the money I'm saving from not going out." So
Yep, I've heard that.
yeah, so I mean, once the industry opens back up and people go out, I think they're gonna regress and be like, a month into it, 2 months into it, they're like, "Hey, I need to save some money. I just need to stop drinking out and drinking the house." So it's just a switch. As for the aluminum can shortage, that kills some of the products that are available to us. People are always asking them for it, and you tell them the aluminum can shortage, and most of them are like, "What are you talking about?" or
Mhm.
I've never heard that, and you're making that up. I've gotten that one too. So because they feel like I'm not gonna give them the straight answer, I don't want to research it. But that's kind of hurt us, and with product availability. I'm sure it hurts you guys with being able to put out products. I mean, where do you guys source your stuff from? Where do you source your cans from? If you want to let us know, where do you source your grains and stuff like that? Chad, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you were cutting out for a minute. I'm sorry. What
Oh
was your
no.
question for me?
I was asking you, where do you source your stuff from? Do you guys go have a local company you source cans and stuff from, or do you?
Right now, we're getting our cans through a company that is as local as you can get in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois. But it's Victory Packaging, and Brandon actually works with them a lot more. But we have Distill, which is a pretty large regional brewery in town, and so they basically were getting deliveries every week. So the company that they were buying from was able to just start bringing cans to us, and the timing of us hooking up with them was good because we were buying our cans by the semi load, and then Brandon got a hold of them to order more, and they said, "Sorry, we're out. We don't know when we can give you more." So it was all of a sudden.
Do you find it that you have like friends in the industry? Hey, you can grab a couple pallets from us, or you lend stuff out like that, and you guys try to help each other out, or is it a very competitive field?
No, that's one of the really strange but cool things about this industry is almost everybody's really willing to help everybody out. So we've actually become really good friends with Anthony Benjamin, who owns Triptych Brewing in Savoy, just a mile or an hour away from our brewery. So when we first started canning, he was helping us out and letting us buy some cans from him, and we've helped him out with hops. He's helped us out with hops, yeast, things like that. So there's a lot of camaraderie and borrowing left and right and to and fro and stuff in this industry. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, just a heads up too. Thank you so much for starting to put UPCs on your labels.
Yeah, we wanted to do it for a while. It was just a pretty big expense, believe it or not, to go
Yeah.
through all the licensing process and stuff. And we finally said, all right, we just have to do it. So anything we make anymore, we'll always have them on there. So.
Awesome. All right, guys, let's start thinking about moving on to the next beer. That's going to be pumpkin pie. It's a personal favorite of mine too. I mean, there isn't too much that you guys do that I don't like. Let's see what we got here. Click that. And real quick, for those of you that are in chat, do me a favor. When we're done with this video, take the time out and put it in a comment. Let me know if everything's cool, or you'd like to see something else, suggestions, comments, questions, concerns. But also, do me a favor, let me know where you're watching from and how many people you have watching with you. If you guys got a little party going on or something like that, I just need to let the powers that be know what's going on, and I can use that information. So we'll go on to pumpkin pie. I'll let you start out with it, Brandon. What do you have to say about this beer?
The battery died.
Yeah, so this is one that it's obviously a seasonal one. We do around Halloween. Last year we ended up doing twice. I believe this year the plan is just this time, and it's a really fun beer that we do. In our tap room, we serve it with whipped cream on top. Like I was saying before, we did it at the same time as the lemon one. So it's one of those pumpkin beers. It's not just it's definitely not a light beer. It's when you drink it, you taste. I mean, I like pumpkin pie, so it tastes like you're drinking a liquefied pumpkin pie. So I think Chad did a really good job on this one. Personally, kind of like Gus said, one of my favorites. So it's definitely a really good seller. We were out of it in less than a week, so it was one of those I was kind of hoping would stick around, kind of towards a little bit more towards Halloween. That didn't end up being the case, but definitely not going to complain about that. So.
All right, so for this beer, let me guys let you know that last year I bought 2 cases of this. No, two 4-packs of it, and I just drank my last one the week before you released this one, just because I knew I'd be able to get some more. I just wanted
Yep.
to save that one beer for the emergency beer, break glass in case of emergency. So, hold on for a second. Let me do this.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely not your typical pumpkin spice beer. It's a very flavorful one.
Chad, what do you got to say about this beer? What was the thought behind the process of making it? And quick question too, how long does it take to brew this beer from start to finish? Can you hear me? Well, Brandon's. You're so totally robotic right now, Chad. So you must be going into the dead zone. Let me get Brandon to answer that if you can. So
What'd you say, babe?
what's it usually take to? How long does it take from start to finish on this beer?
To be honest, on this one, I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
There he goes.
All right, yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Sorry, it just like froze up on me. So
That's fine.
yep. So the pumpkin pie is actually one of the things I'll just point out there is
Your mic is cracking up again. All right, we'll start with something else. Do me a favor.
oh, bad zone.
All right, we'll go to Brandon right now. Chad's mic's cutting out real quick. But so how long did it take you to sell out this, Brandon?
Yeah, so this beer was gone by in about a week. We did a 3 barrel batch of it, so we ended up with, I'd say, about just short of 300 cases and a couple kegs, not very many. But yeah, it's definitely a fast seller. It is every year. That's why we did 2 of them last year. It's not your typical pumpkin beer. Like, I'm a fan of pumpkin. When there's pumpkin stuff at the store, I usually pick it up just to try different ones. Um, this one's just different. It's like a dessert style. I personally haven't had as many dessert styles. They're more the ones I try are the pumpkin spice, kind of just lighter. All of them very good, but just different. It kind of, if you're looking for a dessert beer, um, I think you'll really like this one.
One thing I really like about this beer is that it's not overly spiced, and you actually get the squash from it, and so you actually do get the flavors you're supposed to get to it. That's what draws me to this one.
Yeah, it's not heavy. Some of these things have a heavy feeling to me.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I could probably only drink one of these in a sitting because it's just that kind of a dessert beer for me. But it doesn't sit in my stomach like a rock. So it's not sessionable, but not heavy. So let's see. Let's go back to Chad and see if we can get him cleared up. Yeah, Chad, you're gonna need to restart if you get a chance to restart and relogged in. So, what do you got going on in the brewery this next couple weeks? You got any events going on? Anything?
Not as much events going on, obviously, with COVID. We've kind of eliminated all that for the time being. Right now, just a lot of new beers coming out. One of the things we're focusing on right now is beers that we've never done before. So the last few weeks, usually on Mondays, Chad and I and a couple other guys sit down and kind of figure out what's coming up. So we've got a couple new fruited Wainbows, a really cool coffee collaboration we're doing with 4 local coffee roasters here in Central Illinois. So we're kind of centrally located between 4 other small but larger towns here in Central Illinois. So we've taken a coffee roaster from each city, and kind of is our Cafe Double, which we add coffee to 4 times throughout the brewing. It uses 4 different roasters, so kind of like a Central Illinois edition of that beer. Chad has a couple other barrel aged ones I know coming up, which is a fan favorite. Usually we can't keep the barrel aged ones around very long. So a lot of new stuff coming up. Our goal is to kind of see what we can come up with. Stuff that we haven't done before.
What was that one you did? Whole rye, a lot of love, or
Yep, rye whole lot of wonderful. So it was our whole lot of wonderful beer, and aged in rye barrels. So that was probably, I'm not a huge fan of the barrel aged stuff. That one was awesome though. It was, I'd say it's pretty unique.
So do you use? Do you know if they use canned pumpkin for this pumpkin beer?
That would be a question for Chad. I'm not involved in as
Right.
much of the brewing process as obviously Chad and our assistant brewer Cody is.
Right on.
I wish I had more time because
I hear that. So that whole rye, a lot of love, or the whole rye of wonderful. What is it exactly again?
So that beer started off as our whole lot of wonderful.
That's
So
it.
it's the chocolate coconut. I mean, it's a very high ABV beer to start with. It's a thicker beer, and then obviously you barrel age it, and you get a little bit more alcohol, and obviously the woody, oaky, I guess rye, I guess you'd say, flavor from the barrels.
Yeah, I brought it. When I go traveling, which is rarely, but when I do, I always bring some local beers or beers that caught my eye and bring it down with me. So I go to a local brewery down there. When I tasted that stuff out to these guys in Kentucky, they went crazy. I bought a 6-pack of them and brought it down there and shared it with the whole bar, and it was funny the way these guys went over. They said they never tasted anything like it before. So, props to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so let's start going to get ready to do the next one, which is cheat day.
Brandon, I know we can see some over your shoulder. Do you guys know where you source the barrels from?
So we actually had just started working with a new supplier. I worked with them. I feel bad for not knowing it off the top of my head, but really good company to work with. I think they're out of Nebraska.
And you have any idea how long you guys sit them in the barrels for?
That all depends on Chad. Chad's the expert on that. Like I said, the brewing side of things. I know. I think it's anywhere from 8 to 12 months, just depending on the beer style. Kind of the flavor profile he's going for. It affects it all. So he'll test it out and kind of see where it's going at throughout the year, and it's a cool process. I think it's really interesting how much flavor you get out of these barrels. I believe they're one-time use barrels. And, I mean, when he's working anytime with it, because the whole brewery will smell of like a whiskey or a rye smell. It smells good.
I'm back here. Are you guys able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
yeah. So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just I was asking, what kind of pumpkin do you use? Do you use canned pumpkin in your pumpkin pie, or?
Yeah, that recipe is actually from my homebrew days. The first few times I made it, I actually would toast the pumpkins with cinnamon, mash them up, but it was like a huge drawn-out process. We don't have the space or time to do something like that right now, so it's basically just a pumpkin puree, but we get it in 5-pound pails versus a 16-ounce can or anything you get like the grocery store.
And we were talking about that your barrel aged. How long do you usually sit your beers in for your barrel age?
I shoot for a minimum of 12 months. We just emptied all the ones we had at right about 18 months. So there's some pretty good barrel character coming out of them. The last set of barrels that we got were a little drier than I'd like. So even though they were 18 months, it's not an extreme barrel character like some beers you'll get like Bourbon County or something or that intense. But it's got a really good, I'm really happy with the amount of flavor we get from them, I guess you could say.
Do you go for a certain whiskey distillery, or are you just whatever's available?
It depends on who, how many we need and what's available. In the past, there's some brewers that'll do like a bulk buy, so I've jumped in on some of those. That's some of the ones we just emptied. But other than that, we just got a bunch from, I think it was Midwest Barrel Company, as I heard Brandon mention, out of Nebraska, and they were really good to work with. So, but as far as a particular spirit, I'm particularly a big fan of rye whiskey barrels. I just really like that little bit of spicy character you get from them versus something that's more just a bourbon.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So, okay, folks, let's get ready to go on to the next one. It's going to be cheat day. So, cheat day is what? This one right here. And Chad, you want to start us off and let us know what's going on with cheat day? What's this all about?
So the cheat day is actually a really fun beer. It was probably a little over 2 years ago that we first did that, and that was in conjunction with a local group that basically started a Facebook group called, I shouldn't even remember what it is, but like the Blono Beer Lovers is what I think it is. But their whole idea was, let's just start a page to start bringing together people that are fans and want to support beer in general, but specifically beer breweries here in Central Illinois. So I reached out to them with this idea. What if you guys were to, basically through a voting process, decide what beer we make? So basically the way it was laid out is we'd go through a few different rounds of voting. What's the base, like what style do they want to do? What sub-style do they want to do? And then do a little bit more, granular as far as we landed on an Imperial Stout. So what kind of Imperial Stout do you want? And you get the idea, all the way down to the naming of the beer. And then whoever won whoever's name was used as the beer got to come in and help brew with us, along with the next two highest voted names. And I don't remember what the two runner-ups were, but cheat day just seemed perfect. So they wanted a brownie batter, Imperial Stout. So that's what we did, and we've actually had a little bit of fun with it and done some one-offs and spin-offs and stuff as far as like we did a maple cinnamon. I think we might have done just cinnamon. But I know we got some more of those in the fermenters right now to be bringing back again soon.
Awesome. Are you going to do a barrel aged version of this, or are you going to do? You guys did that maple cheat day before?
Yep. We are going to do a barrel aged version of that. One of the biggest limiting factors we've had on releasing more barrel aged beer has just been the amount of space that we had. Our tap room prior was really small, and any barrels that we were to put in there would just take away from more seating. And as much as I wanted to have lots and lots of barrels, we just didn't have the luxury of the space to do it. So part of our design for the new tap room actually incorporates barrels. So we have to have them now. So awesome. I get to play with them even more often. So yeah, we're going to do some of that. Our Nutty Buddy is our peanut butter chocolate stout. That one's going to be coming out it's not going to be coming out. It's going to be going into barrels here very soon as well. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's one of our technicians' favorite. Awesome. Let's see what else we got going on. So, Brandon, I got a question for you. So you guys self-distribute. How far out do you guys go? What's your farthest out account that you actually physically drive beer to?
Farthest out place. So we go. There's a gentleman in Moline. He has quite a few of our products. That's probably the farthest we go as far as northern Illinois into the Haynesville, Mundelein, kind of almost to Wisconsin areas. So we go as far south as Springfield and Jacksonville. We go over towards Champaign. Not as much southern Illinois yet, but eventually. The biggest thing right now that we have is the available beer to distribute. So we work with a couple of distributors too. We ship beer to Arizona. We have a pretty good following over there with some of the State Farm transfers that kind of used to live here and buy our beer. So they have access to it down there, which I thought was really cool. We're working on a couple other states right now as far as being able to ship beer to as well. So, theoretically, we can we'll eventually be able to go all over the country. So,
All right, philanthropy. Do you guys do any philanthropy?
sorry.
Any like, do you guys support any like cancer awareness centers or anything like that, or do any kind of donation
We
stuff?
Okay.
Or
So
yeah, we
yeah,
do. Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
I'll let you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I come from a long background of nonprofit organizations. I worked with disabled adults for about 10 years, and as I mentioned, I was executive director for a large food bank for about 5 years. So that's always kind of been a backbone to what we want to do to be able to support. That being said, we want to do it right, so we don't just, here's a T-shirt for your auction and here's this for that. We just partnered with our local zoo along with some other breweries in town to do a pretty decent donation for them. We basically worked with a few organizations each year to kind of do an event to where they can raise a lot of money and basically allow them to use our facilities to facilitate a fundraiser. And we know we had some really successful ones last year. COVID has obviously put a damper on things for the time being, and we've had a lot of people reach out to us. So right now everything's just on hold in that regard. But I think as time goes on and we continue to grow and reach further, we'll continue to do some of those things.
awesome. What else we got going on, guys? What else you want to talk about your brewery? Are you guys dog friendly? I've seen a nice patio outside. Are you dog friendly?
We're all dog people. We have an area just for dogs right out here off the patio. Unfortunately, with some of the health department regulations and all that good stuff, they don't allow them on the patio. They don't allow them inside. But we've got a grass area, a turf area with tables and stuff like that. We get a lot of people that ride their bikes, bring their dogs. I think it's really cool. So.
Either Chad or Brandon, do you guys use your one-off Wednesdays or that type of platform to kind of play around with different variants of beers you have?
Absolutely.
Yes. To be honest, every one-off Wednesday that we do is exactly that, because we can't brew anything less than 300 gallons of beer because that's the only brew system we have, because we don't even have room in our facility right now for a pilot system. So everything we create is me taking a beer that we've already done and saying, how can I add this or tweak this or do whatever to come out with some new unique flavors. And some of them, we'll put out there and it's, 2 hours after we tap the keg, it's gone. And then people are showing up, 2-3 hours after that, really upset that it's gone. But we use it as a really good tool to see what do people want, what do they like, what's doing, what sold out super fast versus what didn't kick that day. So.
What was your most successful one?
Brandon could probably say better than me, but I know the German chocolate cake we recently did was a really popular one. And what was the other one? There was another one.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I was thinking of German chocolate cake to begin with. I think it was gone in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, have you gone on to brew bigger batches of any of those?
Oh yeah.
So,
yep.
So which one was the most successful out of those that went on to be brewed as a big batch?
Boy, I know we were going to do the German chocolate cake. We actually just talked about that last week, so we're going to get that one into the pipeline here really soon. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I apologize.
No worries.
I always take notes when I see which ones, went crazy and which ones I feel could use a little more work as well. We just did a Pina Colada IPA a few days ago that I had a lot of people tell me they absolutely loved, so that's probably one we'll do again before long. I was up here in Michigan with my family this weekend, and I tried a cinnamon crunch ice cream, and I looked at my wife and I said, I'm making some kind of cinnamon crunch beer because this is amazing. So I look for good things to come across the one-off Wednesday that involves cinnamon very soon.
Awesome. What do you guys got brewing right now? What do you got in the future? You got any dark styles, porters, stouts, bocks?
Yeah, we've got quite a few coming up. Like I said, we got the coffee collaboration coming up. It's going to be a good coffee style. I'm personally a fan of coffee style. It's one reason I like the cheat day here so much. You always know when he's brewing it because you walk in the brewery and whole place smells like chocolate and coffee. So we've got that coming up. We've got 2 new versions of Wainbows, 2 of them that I don't believe we've ever done before.
Nope.
As well as a couple of collaborations with a couple of retailers we work with too. So me working with those guys and gals every day, I'm looking forward to that because I love ways to interact with the people I already work with every day. So to have a beer with those places is really cool.
And actually, it goes right with your last question there. We took our peanut butter Little Nutty Buddy and we aged it on coconut several weeks ago.
That's awesome.
And it went over very, very well. So we're working with what is it? It's Prestige. I don't remember exactly what it is, but they had been wanting to work with us, and so we're doing the prestigious Beaver, which will be a chocolate coconut Imperial milk stout, which we'll have coming out several weeks, but it won't be too long.
That's awesome. That's going to be again a 16-ounce can?
Yes, that's correct. Right now, that's the way we package everything. We do have a technician coming to visit the brewery in about 2 weeks. In fact, I think it's the week after this coming week. And our machine has the capability to do 12-ounce cans, so we want to have them walk us through that and see if it's something that we could look at doing, like with barrel-aged beers and stuff like that, which, speaking of barrel-aged beers, I'll give you the exclusive here. We haven't really made it public yet, but we do have a few new barrel-aged beers. I believe that we emptied all of our whiskey barrels recently, so we're going to have some new beers hitting the market here very soon that will all be variants of our barrels. So
that's awesome. That's
fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. So
yeah.
let's talk about what you guys got going on this week. And I've seen you've done Alien Beehive again. Tell me about that beer real quick.
What would you like to know about it?
Well, is this one of your original beers? I'm hearing it's one of your.
It was early on in the early days of the brewery. I basically many years ago enjoyed Hop Slam, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And so probably like eight years ago, I decided I don't want to just get Hop Slam once a year. I want to be able to make it. And so a lot of the beers that I used to brew started off as me chasing a commercial example of something. So I'd try a beer that I loved, and I was like, oh, I want to make that. And then I usually would find that once I got really close to making that exact beer, I wanted mine different. And so then I would kind of venture off or, down that path, go a different way. And that's exactly how that one started off. So it was just me going after Hop Slam. And then I just decided I don't really like Hop Slam. So I'm just going to keep the honey and the IPA aspect, but I'm going to make something different. So that's what we did. And
awesome.
I brewed it a lot, and every batch that we make is probably slightly different because we don't brew them every day. We don't, have a lot of really fancy equipment like some major breweries do. So there is a little variation, but on a beer like that we brew a few times a year, I tried to keep it pretty similar because, once I feel I nailed them 5 years ago or it's where I want it to be, I don't see the need to change it.
Yeah, I'll give you a little insider for my store, for you and Brandon. Like anytime you guys make anything, especially if it's new, I'll always take a case or two just to see how it does and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I wind up kicking myself in the butt because I was like, man, I should have ordered 3 times as much because it goes so fast, So it's
that's cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, I put it on the shelf and it's usually gone by the time I need the next order. So that's no shelf turds from you guys. Just
that's great to hear. I know Brandon doesn't necessarily get frustrated, but sometimes by 4:00 on a Friday, he's looking at me and he's like, my phone won't stop ringing and emailing because people want this beer that we released in the tap room. So as you probably receive, that's why he started doing the afternoon inventory list to all of our commercial partners versus just the Monday morning one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's go on to your next beer that you guys got that's called a PDC. Unfortunately, we don't have these to taste out right now, guys. We do have them at the. We will have them at the store next week. PDC is one of my favorite summer beers. It's so refreshing. Um, what's a Mexican style lager? What is a Mexican style lager?
So, if you've ever been to a Mexican restaurant and they have a list of bottles, that's usually a Mexican style lager. So I think it can be a little different to every person. But what I envisioned when we actually made that beer was something reminiscent to Corona with a lime, but with a little more flavor on the beer side of things. So that's really what we created. We took a kind of a light lager recipe. They actually sell a Mexican lager yeast, and that's what we use for it. And then we use lime zest. So Brandon was talking about Mike Palin from Microphone Brewing. Mike and I have brewed together quite a bit and learned quite a few things from each other, I believe. And one of the first things he came when he was at our place, we were talking to him how we made that beer and how it took, I think it was 6 or 7 of us that zested limes by hand for like an hour and a half. And it was horrible. And he said, "Oh, you should just get the Rotato Express." And so basically it's a $25 device that you can buy on Amazon that just, like, for spiral peeling an apple is essentially
awesome.
what it is, or a potato. And so we just, clean and sanitize our limes, and then you just put them in there, and you basically hit a button, and it just zips off a big old string of curly lime zest. But that, talk about a place smelling amazing. That's it. And so then we steep that into the beer at the end of the boil, and it just, it was one of those things that I just thought, hey, maybe this will work. And the first time we did it was for a Cinco de Mayo festival that we did a couple of years ago. And it went over great, and so we keep on doing it.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, we sold the heck out of this PDC, and that's where you guys got a lot of fans from people that's like, oh, I want a Mexican beer for Cinco de Mayo, and then they tasted it and liked it, and now they want it. I get people calling for it all the time. So it's
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're like, do they have it in the rotation right now? I'm like, I'm not really sure, but it'll show up. Trust me, because it's a good one. Brandon, how do you see how does
Brandon has a few accounts that are just perpetually on the waiting list for draft and stuff. Like, when can we get it?
Yeah, yeah, it's a very popular beer with some of my customers. So I do have their phone numbers on hand and text them when it comes in. So let's go on to the last one that we have here. It's called the Blueberry Crumble. All right, so we just had this while we were waiting to set up everything. And let me tell you, on tap, this is incredible. In can, it's good. But on tap, it is incredible. I never even thought it tastes like a different beer to me. Honestly, I could taste a lot of the
yeah, that's pretty wild.
A lot of the cinnamon up front on this, and a can for my, this is my palate because I don't have this incredible palate, So, but it's in can I could taste it, but in draft it's like a punch in the mouth for about a second. So tell me about this beer, guys. Oh, you're going robotic again.
I'm hitting a bad spot. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. We're in a little bit of a dip here, I think, on the road, but when we actually, our process is when we have a beer ready for packaging, is we'll pull the kegs off the tanks, and then we do the cans. So it could just be that a little bit, that cinnamon is a little bit heavier. It was just settled down to the lower part of the tank. So it's very possible that the draft would have a little bit more of a cinnamon kick than the cans would.
Yeah, it tastes like a different beer to me. When it went off the tap, and you guys just tapped this within the last week, right?
It been Friday.
Yeah, so it is awesome.
Very cool.
It's definitely one of our, probably if not the best selling, one of the best selling fruited beers. I have people that email once a week, kind of just saying, "Hey, when's this going to be available? When's this going to be available?" So it's kind of kind of cool to see, especially in the Chicago market. This one, it seems like people can't get enough of up there. So it's cool to me to have those beers being kind of like the guys not from the city but have the following up there. So this one is really popular.
Yeah, we're obviously not in Chicago, but I always love it when somebody gives me the compliment that I'm their favorite brewery in Chicago. So
Yeah, like I said earlier
I'll take that.
in the broadcast, you guys are definitely in the top 3 for us. So I know in DeKalb County, I know in the city, people always scrambling to get your product. So props to you. I wanted to thank Brandon and Chad for coming out tonight. I want to thank you, everyone that's watching, for taking time out of your Sunday to come to this event. Do me a favor, don't forget to post any comments, questions, concerns, or how many people are watching in the comments. I'd appreciate that. Chad, do you have anything you want to say on parting words?
No, other than I appreciate all the support from everybody. I mean, we wouldn't be doing what we were doing without all of you, and we want to keep doing some more. So hopefully your support continues, and we really look forward to having everybody to check out our new space. I know Brandon chatted a little bit about it, but we're hoping to get our occupancy within the month of October here to be able to open that up to everybody, and then we're hoping that we'll have food by the first of next year. So we're looking to bring a whole new experience to anyone that's visited us in the past.
Awesome. How about you, Brandon? What do you got to say on your parting words?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the retailers, you guys that buy the beer at those said retailers, and I like I said, it's one of the cool things about this industry is everybody gets along. It's a very cool industry. I'm fortunate to be a part of it, and fortunate to have customers like these guys. Just fortunate all along. I hope you guys are able, if you guys ever make the trip down here, to come check out the new tap room. I know Justin and the guys, all the contractors here, have been working tirelessly to get it all done. So it's something I really hope to be proud of. Keep an eye on our social media stuff for updates on that, and I try to keep everything updated on what's going on around here as much as we can. So, yeah, I thank you guys for tuning in.
Awesome. Thank you again, guys, for taking your time out of your schedule to answer some of our questions and stuff like that. I just wanted to thank the participants, Little Beaver Brewery, Chad, Brandon. I'd like to thank Macomb Hy-Vee for sitting in on this, manager Chris Branch, Peoria, manager Tony Abbott, Springfield, manager Rochelle Slater, and the Sycamore Hy-Vee for helping sell these 4-packs and getting the people together for the event. I'd like to thank the virtual Taphouse for putting this together and having it for it. So, like I said earlier in the broadcast, thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your alerts for the virtual Taphouse. And then I'm going to keep on doing these Sundays on my day off, and at around 2 o'clock. Our next virtual tasting is going to be So Hop Brewing out of Huntley, Illinois. It's 2 o'clock next Sunday, and that is it, folks. If you have any questions after the show, just type them in comments, and we'll get back to you with any answers you have. And thanks again, folks, for giving us another Sunday. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.